Hey there, everybody. This is Mike from MoonDog Media, and I have an amazing podcast for you today. Right here in Klondike Mike's today, I have the legend, the man himself, Mr. Hobo Jim. Man, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We had a show last Thursday. It was a couple days ago.
Awesome show.
Oh, that was crazy. It was crazy. We had that place packed.
It's amazing to be. I started my 49th year of playing music in the state of Alaska, and that was my first show in the 49th year of playing. You know, and it's just amazing me. I'm still bringing a crowd.
Oh, I'm gonna make sure you get booked. I want to be in the first week of January. I'd be calling you up and being like, "Hey, I got a show." So the first show of the 50th year.
50. And it's gonna be big, but this is 49 in the 49th state.
That is true.
So
that is true. Yes,
that's kind of cool to me right now. But no, 50 is gonna be big too. I got 2 years in a row. I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's such a long time, and people are starting to call me an old man and everything. The kids and whatnot. But I remember elementary school, 3rd grade.
Yeah.
I remember being in music class and learning.
Was I in your class?
No, you weren't in the class, but you were with us. The Iditarod song. I mean, it's always stuck with me all through growing up.
And when I wrote that song, it was just kind of took off, and everybody liked it, every age, and all the kids liked it. And when I first played it for kids was when I wrote it, and I was up in Nome at the end of the trail, and I played it at the Nome Elementary School. They had me go down there, and the kids were singing it, and I realized that, kids like this song.
Right.
So I just, for years, I volunteered to play at every elementary school I could get my hands on, and I played at your school. Were you at Sherrod? Or?
Actually, I was in Juneau at the time.
Oh, in Juneau, yeah. And I played down there, too.
I was at Douglas Island Elementary.
Yeah.
In 3rd grade, yeah.
So,
that's where I grew up.
But I played all over the, all over the state, in all the schools for the kids. And when it really kind of, I didn't do it for anything, but I just wanted to do it. But it kind of paid off because that was so long ago. And now half my audience will come in and say, I remember when you came to my class when I was in elementary school.
Right.
And they're still fans.
And honestly, every time I've done sound for you a couple times now, I've been to even more shows, but I got to say, watching you after you're done and watching the smile that you get on your face when you've got people coming up and telling you those stories. Because, half of your show is really you telling stories yourself.
Yeah.
So it shows how much you value that. I mean, experiences are real. And when they're sharing them with you, you get a twinkle in your eye. You do.
Yeah. And there was a time period in my life when bar owners were having a problem with my talking stories, and they wanted me to just sit and play music, And unfortunately for them, is that the reality of my songs is they're real, and they have stories behind them. And
you're the balladeer.
Yeah, and to me, it made more sense to tell the story behind the song before I sang it. Sometimes I got a lot carried away. I might have talked a lot too much, but it made sense to tell stories. And so my show ended up becoming kind of half storytelling and half singing, and it worked. I can't tell you that 90% of the people that come to my show say stories make it,
I'd have to agree. I really would. The songs are great on their own, but especially when you're talking about, the amount of just amazing experience and people that you've had the opportunity to work with in your career. And you throw out names like they're nothing to you. And, I'm sitting back going, whoa, wait a minute, huh?
No, they're all something to me, but, you can't eat fame. They're the same people you are,
I got you.
But when, when you're talking about after the show, it's like, I love it. I love when people come up and say, you played at my 3rd grade class, or you did this, or I remember, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of times people remember more than I do, but they also remember things that never happened. I have a lot of people that come up and say, I remember the time you and I said, no, I know I never did that.
Yeah, I get those too. 16 years I've been working here in South Central doing sound for bands and DJing, and every one of those crazy stories I had nothing to do with.
No, but I'm for real. They have all these stories that they say, well, one, I wasn't here in the state then back then, and they've got me. I've been here for, like I said, 49 years, but that people have stories about me that what I did in the 60s in Alaska, and I wasn't here in the 60s in Alaska. Yeah, so it's just kind of funny. Everyone's got their story, you know.
Right. And you came up here in the, as I recall, the mid 70s, right?
No, early 70s.
Early 70s.
I actually, I tell people I came up here in 1972 because I got into Kenai Homer in January of 72, but I actually arrived in Anchorage in 71 in December, but for a week, so I don't count that.
You came up the hard way too.
Oh, well, I don't know. That's a matter of opinion.
You arrived in a good way, as I recall the end of the story.
Here in the wintertime, with no money, no winter clothes, no nothing. Just my guitar. I never carried a sleeping bag or backpack. And it was before the pipeline and all that. So there's, you know, my rides were like 10, 20 miles all the way up the Alcan with a miner, logger, homesteader. But I did have 2 girls traveling with me, so it wasn't as rough as most people think.
Yeah. They make it easier. And then they just left you, right? Isn't it?
Oh, they both left me. It was horrible.
Just gone. And then you started your commercial fishing career.
Yeah, actually, the girls came up and we came up together, and they worked a little bit at the cannery, and they didn't like Alaska, and they adiosed her early spring, and I stayed up here. I just couldn't, I liked it. I loved it, and there's no place on the Kenai Peninsula to play music and make a living. They had no live entertainment stages anywhere. One in Kenai, but that was for a country band thing. And but nothing in Homer. So I ended up having to work for a living. And one of the first times in my life outside of being a street singer. And so I ended up going to work commercial fishing, lumberjacking, cowboying. Wrote songs about all that stuff, and got to the point where people wanted to hear me play more than they wanted to see me work. I was always better at playing than working. So dusty boots, bittersweet highways, and lonesome freight trains riding through my memories. I was just a kid with that same old story, on the road, bound for glory. My old guitar was my only load when I wandered Woody's road. $18-wheelers and dirty truck stops and small towns and Greyhound bus stops, and going for days without eating a thing. My hat to the wind, sleeping in the rain. I got my highs, had my lows when I wandered Woody's road. I walked her mountains, her fertile valleys, city streets, and dangerous dark alleys. Coast to coast, man, singing every working man's tune on street corners and smoky old bar rooms. Follow my boots wherever they go when I wandered Woody's road. This land is your land. This land is my land. You're not seeing it now from both sides, man. I've done my best, though my troubles there were many, while looking for these old pastures aplenty. I fed my soul on the seeds I sowed when I wandered Woody's road. I just fed my soul on the seeds I sowed. Hey, when I wandered Woody's road. So
It's the audience participation. I just got to say, I mean, especially when you're bringing out the old ones, the ones that you wrote, you know, back in that time, and they know all the words to it, and of course the wolf howl.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you guys, anybody who has not had the pleasure of attending a Hobo Jim show, there was a contest going at the fair for a long time, wasn't there?
Yeah, still is.
Still is. It's because it's coming back.
The wolf howling's always been kind of, I don't know why, but I used to be a lot wilder guy than I am now. You might think I'm still wild, but I used to be a lot wild. And the wolf howling is always kind of a tradition at my shows. People come in and howl like wolves, howl like coyotes, you know, and my crowds are that way. And now it's transferred overseas. I mean, my German crowds howl like coyotes and wolves, and it's just part of my show. And sometimes when I'm playing and I forget, because my audiences always howl at certain points of my song when I mention a wolf howl. And it's just spontaneous, and they all howl, and I expect it. And sometimes when I play in a place I haven't played for ever, you know, and I mean, and I have a couple 300 people out there, and I go to play, and I get to this point, and I expect they're gonna howl, and there's just dead airspace. I'm going, oh my God, I forgot I'm not, you know, in Alaska or whatever, you know. It's pretty crazy, but
like, don't they know? I mean,
well,
don't they know what's...
They do now, but I mean, I chastise them after the first time, and then the rest of the nights is good, you know. Do a little song called The Wilderness Way. Well, the fire is stoked, fish are all smoked, there's a barn full of good summer hay. Here's still wood to be split for the winter winds hit, and there ain't never enough time in a day. When my work's over and I've earned my keep, well, it's back to the cabin to stay. I'll let the timber wolf sing me to sleep. That's the wilderness way. I got jellies and jams, vegetables canned, and a crock of home brew by the door. There's a moose on the lake. If I'm still shooting straight, well, I won't need a thing from the store. When my work is over and I've earned my keep, well, it's back to the cabin to stay. I'll let the timber wolf sing me to sleep. That's the wilderness way. Come on, guitar. Well, a neighbor dropped in and asked if I'd lend him a hand. He's been running behind. Tomorrow's his. Out here, that's how it is, for it just might be me the next time. When my work's over and I've earned my keep, well, it's back to the cabin to stay. I'll let the timber wolf sing me to sleep. That's the wilderness way. Oh, that's the wilderness way.
I don't know if you realize, Jim, but I've been a fan of yours for a very, very long time. And every time I see you, you're from Alaska. You know, just like me, growing up, and you live the dream that I didn't chase.
Yeah.
You know. And we're working on that now, trying to be media and bring music to everybody out here. And
I wish you the best of luck.
I really do love you, man.
You know, when I was a kid, I had a banjo, and I got rid of it and saved my career. But anyway, I had a banjo, and on it, I had a friend who was a cartoonist paint on it, "Follow Your Dreams." And I was young, very, very, very young then. But I've lived my life that way. If there's something I even have the remotest inclination to do, even still, I do it. You know, I go and do it, no matter how crazy it is, how if it's dangerous. I take no age means nothing to me, you know. But I will, you know, I will go out and do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it if it follows my dream. You know?
There you go. You always fail if you never try, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, last year was pretty tough. You know,
yeah,
on everybody. And I know I know we hit hard. We really try not to bring it up too much because, you know,
No, it was a major event in the world.
It was, absolutely.
And there's been two, I was going to say there's been two rough times in my life. There's been millions of rough times in my life, and like the first 20 years of my career. But 1987, 88, when we had the oil crash here, you know, and 1/3 of our state left, and I was making like lots of money, and then all of a sudden the bars closed, and I went from working 6, 7 days a week to zero work. I mean, none. And I had a lot of payments to make, and I go, wow, gee, I could, you know, everything was going perfect, and I don't have anything to. I thought had nothing to do with the oil industry, you know. And next thing I knew, I was, you know, struggling like everyone else. And this COVID thing reminds me of the same deal, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I went from, you know, I'd kind of been retiring out of the bars, and I was doing privates, and I was doing Europe concerts, and I was doing, you know, the bigger things, and life was going great. And then it just shut the doors, you know. I mean, it's closed, and
matter of a day.
Fortunately, you know, Lord's been good to me. We you know, we're not doing bad, we're not doing good, but we're not doing bad, and you know, it's been okay, and it seems to be.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
It's coming
over the hill, you know, and
cautiously. We're being cautious.
But I'm vaccinated now, and I feel freer getting around. I wasn't really that worried about it anyway, but I feel freer getting around. I just want the countries that I play in to feel freer to let me come in and work. But you know, this is a historical times, a historical event, and we'll get over it. You know, we're Americans. We tough through everything, and more so we're Alaskans. We're really tough. Absolutely. I mean, we can go without anything and make it. You know.
That's how we started.
Yep.
Yeah. You guys, y'all didn't know, right now we're in Klondike Mike's and the Roadhouse Grill, which is where I got my start in my actual getting paid start in music 16 years ago. And this place has been around for a lot longer than that. And I know earlier you were telling some stories, which we probably won't share again just right now. But
well, I've been playing these bars here, like Klondike's and Moosehead and all that for this whole time. I've been 49 years. I've been in this town and every town and all around. I don't think there's a bar I haven't played at, even if they didn't want me here. And I can't believe you got paid here. I didn't. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. They paid.
Oh, yeah. It's there's a lot of. I always hear stories from the locals and the ones who are related to the colony people that, you know, this whole place started with 30 families.
Yeah.
You know, given basically a certificate saying, hey, you got land in Alaska, and they just trucked on up here, and kind of like the way you did it. And you know, we got a lot of people that are still doing it today.
In Homer, when I was a kid, before the pipeline, you know, it was a commercial fisherman's town, had cannery workers and commercial fishermen. It wasn't a arts town, you know, and all that. And very, very, very hard to make a living in Alaska in those days, you know. But you know, I always told my son, and he likes to repeat the thing, but he said, the phrase in our family is there's tough and there's Alaska tough, and they're two different things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like when you get hurt, are you hurt? Or you Alaska hurt? You know? I do have a question for you, because we deal with we've been dealing with a lot of brand new artists, some really, really talented people that are coming out, and they never really made the jump. We've got, with the advantages in digital technology and all that, it's making it a lot easier. That's kind of why we exist as MoonDog Media. And they're always asking me, you know, to ask questions of the experienced artists that I work with. And like, what is your thoughts on how the industry is kind of shaped right now versus how it was when you were coming up in it, in the recording industry?
The industry totally sucks, you know, and there's not a thing about the music industry I like, you know, nothing. Okay. Not the publishing, not the songwriting, nothing. I do it still. Oh, no, it's not nothing. I love my performance, and I love performing. But when I was young, you know, music was the scene. I mean, you know, you go out, there's like lots of places. I played all over the United States, you know, bars and clubs and concerts and festivals, Telluride, you know, everything. It was awesome. But that's all gone. But then I took a second home in Nashville, Tennessee about 30-some years ago. And I was a staff songwriter for Warner Brothers and for MCA and Anne Murray. And I, you know, worked with a lot of people down there, and wrote hundreds and hundreds. I published hundreds of songs.
Yeah, I heard 600 or over 600
over
at one
600.
time.
And had songs cut by big artists like George Jones and Etta James and Randy Travis, Janis Ian, T. Graham Brown, lots of people. But it was fun, and it was competitive, and it was a lot of talent and things. But music downloading put the music songwriting business out of business. No one's paying you anymore to play to write songs, and it basically put that whole. And it used to be so cool because Music Row, even though Nashville's a big town, Music Row was like a small Alaska community. It was a bunch of singers, and other people show up downtown with their briefcases, and we show up with our guitar cases, and we knew each other, and we co-wrote, and we did a lot of things. It was real cool times, and you knew everyone. Like when you ask about my not dropping names, but when I hear names of stars and stuff like that, and it's not that they don't mean something to me, but they were my co-workers.
Yeah.
So I work with them all the time, so we're friends, and that all collapsed. I haven't spent a day on Music Row in 15 years, and I would never want to go back there.
Gotcha. I know that one thing that I have to tell, because we have the recording studio now in Midtown Anchorage. And the new artists, I actually had to learn this from them. And it goes along with what you're saying about the download situation. So back in the day, you had to put in, when you were going in to do a recording contract, that was some time because you had to make an album because you were putting it all at once. But nowadays, nobody buys an album.
Right. Well,
and nobody even really buys a song.
I made my very first record was a 45 RPM, little jukebox thing. And then I made a 33, but I had a record company. It was an independent record company, but they did Russell Smith and Buffy St. Marie and Mink DeVille and some people, and I made my first record that way on 33 RPM.
33 RPM.
And the record company
kids, look it up.
Yeah,
it's a real thing. Okay.
Record company financed my first two, and then I made money, and they made money. But then I got to my third record, and I didn't like the people I was dealing with. And so I decided to find private financiers and start our own record company. So my third record, the first two were made in right outside of Denver, Colorado, Westminster. And my third album, I was in Tennessee. And by then, all my Colorado musician friends, like Bela Fleck and Sam Bush and everything, had all moved to Tennessee, right? So all the good musicians were in Tennessee. And I financed the third one by myself, and it was successful. And same with the fourth, not by myself, but with, and then I leased to, I was on Flying Fish Records, I was on Rounder Records, I leased my masters to them. And then I ended up buying everything back. My last CD I ever put out was I totally financed myself, and about 5 or 6 weeks later, and it was very expensive, but about 5 or 6 weeks later is when the music industry decided not to produce CDs anymore, and auto industry quit putting them in CD players in. The Walmart and everyone else quit handling CDs, and CD sales business went like root of cassettes or 8-tracks. It was gone.
Yeah, and
there
that was
is
a
no
tangible.
more.
That was a product.
And now I don't know how. I'd love to make another CD. I got a lot of new songs, but you wouldn't make a CD. You make. But
you do I went EPs on now, so you're doing a digital file, which
and I went on to digital on iTunes and Amazon and all that. But then they got the streaming stuff.
Yeah,
and you're already licensed to it when you're on iTunes or Amazon. And so instead of people buying my songs for 99 cents a piece or whatever, now they're paying $10 a month or whatever they pay for streaming.
And you just hope you pass their playlist.
And play as much as your stuff as much as they want. And at the end of the year, if you made $200, you're lucky.
Yeah, I think that definitely, as far as the ability for,
with lots of airplay too.
And that's really what it is we're not hoping for people to buy the song so much anymore. We're hoping that they just like the song.
Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to finance it. I don't know how you're going to get a band together and pay 30, 40 grand and make a record.
It's it's forcing the true musicians, the ones who really want to do this for their living. Yeah. It's really forcing them to get on a stage. Because that's really the only way that they're making big money or enough money really to live off of.
And if I make another record, it's either going to be me and my guitar, or it's going to be me and my guitar and a lot of friends that don't want to be paid for playing with me.
Well, I had a dream a couple of years back where I ended up down in Anchor Point with that little portable rig that I got there, and brought out a camera, and we just did an album right there on your front porch. So maybe we'll become better friends, and we'll make that happen sometime. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. The video to go along with it.
I moved out of Anchor Point and out of Homer about 35 years ago, and I moved up to Soldotna, and then took a second home in Nashville. But I live in the Soldotna area. But my cabin that I built is still out in the woods, but it's got 40 years of growth around it now, and it took me forever to find it a couple of years ago when I went looking for it. But it's out. It's like,
so you didn't sell it though. That's your cabin. I was a squatter on a ranch, and I put it out there, and when I left it, but it's still in good shape. It's just out in the middle of nowhere. You'd have nowhere to find it. Yeah, I know. You tell a lot of stories about the time that you had out there with your wife, and is it 41 years?
We've been together for 41
years. And there's a lot of people can't say that nowadays anymore. So, and I
plus or minus a few nights on the couch.
But she's such a sweet lady too. I mean, she's
I know. I hate to make her sleep on the couch.
So, what about the future? What are we looking at right now? Are you just kind of rolling with the flow, or you got anything big planned?
And exactly that's what I'm doing. I'm not worried about anything. This is not the best year I've had, with this COVID stuff, but I have a huge fan club in Germany, and they're dying for me to get over.
You gotta say what they're called.
The Wild and Free Fan Club.
The Wild and Free Fan Club, yeah.
And they're wonderful people, and I'm going to towns I've never played in my life, and filling up theater with 200 people, and doing my Alaska stuff and everything, and then getting invited back again and again and again. And Germany's been phenomenal for me. So, but I just need to be able to go back there, and now it's closed for Americans. But then and in here I still do, like State Fair, and then AJ's my little Homer place that was the first place I ever worked in Homer. It was a waterfront bar. And I still do, I didn't last year because of COVID, but I still do Tuesdays and Wednesdays in a dinner show only. I play like an hour and 15 minutes in a dinner show. But I kind of quit the bars, and everything else is like private shows to me. I work for fish camps and just private stuff.
Out of the grind. The music
grind. It's been easy for me. I pick what I want to pick, and take what I want to take, and make.
Getting by.
Yeah, I make what I want to make, and then I go work on my garden or read books or
there you go,
write songs. And as far as this music thing, I was writing like crazy. I'm writing like probably better than I've ever written in my life, and and I'm not just writing, but I'm working. I'm studying writing, and I'm working on my writing, and I've come up with some of the best stuff I've ever written, but I just don't know.
You're looking to
how I'm gonna get it out there.
I was gonna say, are you to the point now where you're thinking about possibly taking those songs and passing them on to a promising, a next generation?
No, I wrote those for me.
Oh, for you.
Okay. I mean, I wrote them for you.
All respect.
For you. I wrote them for you.
Nothing but respect.
I wrote them for you, not for me. But I I didn't write them for anyone else to do them. I wrote them for me to do them. But I quit writing for other people. I mean, I still, if someone asks me to, I will, and I still do some ads and stuff like that. But I quit writing that stuff.
Yeah, I've run into that a lot with like bands that, like when I first started working sound, that they've gotten out of the music part of it, and they're still writing these really cool songs, and they're just passing them off, and
you just don't know what to do with it. So now,
and then half the time they sound horrible by the person that they give them to, and it's like, oh no.
I've been lucky that way. Most of the songs that I've had on the charts or that other people have cut, they've done a pretty darn good job of. So I've been.
Oh yeah, then there's one in particular that Cam Pelletier Is
Kenny did a great job.
He did a great job on that one, and that one has a lot of significance to me that I can't get into because I'll start getting weepy. But
you know, in my life, that song, he's talking about Educated Man again, by the way, and my most requested song, and everybody says, boy, that reminds me of my grandfather, my uncle, my dad, whatever. And more than 3 times in my life, I've had people come up and say, look at this, and they show me a picture, and it's a tombstone of the one they love the best, and on it it's carved in, here lies an educated man, which is a line from the song. So it's pretty, you know, when you do something like that, it's a powerful thing, you know. It's amazing when a song can move someone like that.
Oh, know? Yeah. I mean, it's especially because, you know, the men who were like that, if I may say, the men who were like that, you don't really think of them that way until they're gone. You know, it's like they're always there. They're always dependable. You know, it was great to watch them do what they did. And then you hear a song like that after they're gone, and it's like a whole nother set of memories. Yeah. Just hits you.
Man, but it is to me too, because, you know, I have people in my mind when I write these things. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, my songs are real. They're not, you know, I will tell you I've made up some songs in my life, but most of my songs are based on something or somebody. And I get emotional. I mean, when I write the songs I wrote for Elton Anderson and Mike Patches and Riding Away and all my cowboy songs, and he was like a second father to me. And there's been days in my life when someone asks for that song, and it just happens to hit me when I'm emotional, and there's been times it's been hard for me to get through those songs.
Yeah, no, you write some very powerful stuff, and you can definitely tell that it comes from the heart, and that's one reason why everybody loves you so much. I mean, I don't think I've seen a show yet that's been crickets. I mean, the other night
I had so much fun the other night. You know,
that was crazy.
And I haven't played for so long, and I don't, you know, right now in my life, I don't expect anything big. You know, I want to make a living. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of my audiences, because I have a friend with me out here today, but we were talking when we were driving, and she's heard me say this a million times, but at my age and as long as I've been playing around, I can't believe I still pack a house. It's just it amazes me, you know. And I am so appreciative of the people that come in and do that for me, you know.
Oh yeah, you're definitely loved for sure.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we've about run out of the time that we had.
Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
It was really an honor to get you on here, and I hope to be working with you much more in the future.
Yeah.
Whether it be
of all the songs I've ever written, is my favorite song, because everybody in the world knows the guy in this song. There are a few books on a shelf, Zane Grey and a Bible, nothing else. He never went too far in school. He always thought himself a fool, so much he couldn't understand. Give him a torch and some metal rod, he could weld anything in this world, by God. When it came to working with his hands, he was an educated man. He was a master of his trade, could fix anything ever made with his hands. Smarter than most PhDs, he could build anything you see with his hands. He was an educated man. He never traveled very far and only used his car to pick up parts. And the only world he knew was his shop and all his tools and all the work he'd left to do. Give him a hammer and a box of nails, he could build you a wagon or ship that sails. When it came to working with his hands, was an educated man. He was a master of his trade, could fix anything ever made with his hands. Smarter than most PhDs, he could build anything you see with his hands. He was an educated man. While he was here, he taught me all he knew, and then he left me all his tools. Here I am with his old chisel in my hand, and I'm carving. Here lies an educated man. He was a master of his trade, fixed anything ever made with his hands. Smarter than most PhDs, he could build anything you see with his hands. He was an educated man. He was an educated man.